Hello and welcome and namaste from New Delhi. You're watching a special edition of DD India News Hour, focusing on the Union Budget. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up over the next 1 hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says the budget presents an ambitious roadmap for accelerating the Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat or Self-Reliant India campaigns. The Defence Ministry gets the highest ever outlay of 7.85 lakh crore Indian rupees, 15% higher over budgetary estimates of FY 2025-26. And in tennis, world number 1 Carlos Alcaraz beats Novak Djokovic to win the Australian Open, becomes the youngest player to complete a career Grand Slam. Well, first up, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has hailed the Union Budget. He has said that it embodies the vision of trust-based governance.
ये बजट ट्रस्ट बेस्ड गवर्नेंस और ह्यूमन सेंट्रिक अर्थरचना के विजन को साकार करता है। एक ऐसा यूनिक बजट है जिसमें फिस्कल डेफिसिट कम करने, इन्फ्लेशन कंट्रोल करने पर फोकस है और इसके साथ ही बजट में हाई कैपेक्स और हाई ग्रोथ का भी समन्वय है।
The PM also called it a youth power budget, saying that it embodies the thinking, dreams, resolve and dynamism of the youth.
यह युवा शक्ति बजट है। उसमें युवा की सोच भी है, युवा के सपने भी हैं, युवा का संकल्प भी है और साथ साथ युवा की गति भी है। बजट में जो प्रावधान किए गए हैं उससे अलग अलग सेक्टर्स में लीडर्स, इनोवेटर्स और क्रिएटर्स तैयार होंगे। मेडिकल हब्स के निर्माण से, एलाइड हेल्थ प्रोफेशनल्स के माध्यम से, ऑरेंज इकोनॉमी यानी ऑडियो विजुअल गेमिंग को बढ़ावा देकर, पर्यटन को प्रोत्साहन देकर और खेलो इंडिया मिशन के माध्यम से युवाओं के लिए नए अवसरों के द्वार खुलेंगे।
And speaking to the media after having presented a budget, the Finance Minister said that Budget 26-27 is the first one in the second quarter of the century, leading towards the vision of India becoming a developed nation by 2047. Addressing the post-budget press conference in Delhi, the Finance Minister said that the budget is aimed at Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. The FM added that in this year's budget, health has been given equal importance with special emphasis on mental health. She said that the budget 26-27 pushes the Indian economy to maintain its growth momentum with an emphasis on continuing structural reforms.
We are laying the path and giving a push to the economy to maintain the growth momentum, and for that growth momentum or sustained economic growth which we want to ensure, primarily we are looking at building the ecosystem with structural reforms which will go on. Reforms have been carried out. We are continuing to do the reform activities, so it will continue with an aim to make sure that we create enough environment for improving productivity and making sure employment is generated.
Also, India is stepping up its push to become a global technology and innovation hub with a strong focus on artificial intelligence, electronics manufacturing, infrastructure and the orange economy. In the Union Budget, the government has outlined an ambitious roadmap for growth and job creation. On these priorities, DD India's Deepika Mahato has spoken exclusively with Union Minister for Information and Broadcasting, Ashwini Vaishnav, who also holds a portfolio for electronics and IT as well as railways.
Hello and welcome to our special segment on DD India. Union budget has been announced and right now we are joined by Union Minister Shri Ashwini Vaishnav. Sir, thank you so much for exclusively talking to DD India. The budget has been announced for the year 2026-27 and AI has been a special focus this time with a special panel announced for the same. What is the importance of it?
India is going to host the biggest AI summit in the world very soon, and AI is going to bring a major change in the entire, each and every sector of our economy in our lives. So it's very important that we should harness the benefits of this technology. That's why in the budget, Honorable Prime Minister and Honorable Finance Minister have given huge emphasis to AI, and a major all-encompassing program will be taken up for making the use of AI in every sector, from agriculture to healthcare to education to transportation to manufacturing to creative economy. Everywhere AI will be used in a very big way.
Reform Express continues to march on with the vision of a developed India by the year 2047. 7 new high-speed corridors have been announced and an increased capex have also been announced in addition to that. How do you look at this 360-degree development?
This is very important. As Honorable Prime Minister has always emphasized, we must make sure that our country grows at a very rapid pace. It creates a lot of employment and it also brings huge benefits to each and every citizen in our country. And that's why the Reforms Express has been unleashed by our Prime Minister. In every sector, huge number of reforms will be taken up. Today, Honorable Finance Minister has announced reforms in IT services, in data centers, in electronics manufacturing. In practically every sector of the economy, reforms have been announced today, and the 7 new high-speed corridors,
yes,
they will make a big change in the way we live, the way cities grow, and the way the economy grows. Chennai-Bangalore will become a journey of 1 hour and 13 minutes only. Bangalore-Hyderabad will become a journey of 2 hours. Chennai-Hyderabad will become a journey of 2 hours 55 minutes. Mumbai-Pune will be less than 1 hour, 48 minutes. Pune-Hyderabad will be 1 hour 55 minutes. Delhi-Varanasi will be 3 hours 50 minutes, and Varanasi-Siliguri will be only 2 hours 55 minutes. So this will be a big change in the way people travel in our country.
Environment has also been a focus and all these corridors will also be environmental sustainable?
Yes, they will reduce pollution significantly. The pollution load of railway is 95% less compared to the pollution load of the highways. That's why it's very important that we focus on large number of high-speed corridors. So these 4,000 kilometer long high-speed corridors will bring about a major change in our country, both in economy as well as from the environmental point of view.
So there's also been a special push to the orange economy. We've heard Prime Minister Narendra Modi giving a special message, putting a special emphasis on the orange economy. And this time when we talk about it, there's a major push through IICT, Indian Institute of Creative Technology. How is it going to benefit especially the youth of the country?
Absolutely. The creators economy has been given a huge importance by our Prime Minister. Last year, the WAVES Summit itself set a new benchmark for the entire world, and the IICT, Indian Institute of Creative Technology, is set up as a part of the Orange Economy Initiative. Now this will get connected to 15,000 high schools and 500 colleges. New creators labs will be set up in these 15,000 high schools and 500 colleges. That will help us create 20 lakh employment in the orange economy.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for exclusively talking to us. There you heard Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav talking about the different benefits that the country is going to get with the Reform Express marching on with the vision of India becoming a developed nation by the year 2047 and also with the aim of becoming the 3rd largest economy. With camera person Yogesh, this is Deepika for DD India from New Delhi.
The budget has also delivered a major push to India's financial markets with a clear message for global investors. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has opened direct access to Indian equities for foreign individuals, raised ownership limits and unveiled a new market-making framework for corporate bonds. More details in this report.
diseases.
Union Budget 2026-27 presented on Sunday marks a significant step forward in strengthening India's integration with the global financial markets. Key announcements include the introduction of a market-making framework for corporate bonds, a new investment route for foreign individuals into Indian equities, and a substantial increase in ownership limits for such investors in listed companies. In a major boost to foreign individual participation, the investment limit for an individual PROI has been increased from 5% to 10%, while the aggregate investment ceiling for all individual PROIs has been raised from 10% to 24%. This reform enables foreign individuals to invest directly in Indian listed equities without routing funds through registered foreign portfolio investors. The expanded category includes non-resident Indians, overseas citizen of India card holders, foreign citizens, and entities registered outside India.
Individual persons resident outside India, PROI, will be permitted to invest in equity instruments of listed Indian companies through the Portfolio Investment Scheme. It is also proposed to increase the investment limit for an individual PROI under the scheme from 5% to 10%, with an overall investment limit for all individual PROIs to 24% from the current 10%.
Direct access for foreign individuals is expected to attract greater overseas capital inflows, enhancing liquidity and market depth. Broader participation beyond institutional investors will diversify ownership and reduce reliance on a limited set of large players. Increased demand for Indian equities could support stronger valuations. The move aligns India's equity markets with global best practices, improving their appeal to international investors. Budget 2026-27 proposes for a market-making framework with suitable access to funds and derivatives on corporate bond indices, along with a proposal for total return swaps on corporate bonds. The Union Budget proposes an incentive of 100 crore rupees for a single bond issuance of more than 1,000 crore rupees. The current scheme under Amrut, which incentivizes issuances up to 200 crore rupees, will also continue to support smaller and medium towns.
To encourage the issuance of municipal bonds of higher value by larger cities, I propose an incentive of 100 crore rupees for a single bond issuance. 100 crore rupees for a single bond issuance of more than 1,000 crore.
The budget 2026-27 reinforces India's ambition to emerge as a mature, globally competitive financial market. Bureau Report, DD India.
Also in the budget, post-Operation Sindoor, defence services of the country have received an unprecedented allocation of 7.85 lakh crore Indian rupees for the financial year 26-27. This is a major boost to the nation's armed forces. The allocation, equivalent of 2% of the estimated GDP, marks a 15.19% jump over last year's budget estimates and makes defence the single largest spending ministry, accounting for 14.67% of total central government expenditure. Beyond routine modernization and operational needs, the enhanced outlay also factors in emergency procurement of arms and ammunition undertaken after Operation Sindoor across both capital and revenue heads. A major thrust is visible in capital spending, which has been raised to 2.19 lakh crore Indian rupees, up sharply from 1.8 lakh crore rupees last year, underscoring the government's push to upgrade military capabilities and preparedness. The budget reiterates a strategic commitment to building a future-ready, self-reliant military with a clear emphasis on Atmanirbhar Bharat, or self-reliant India, and transforming the nation's armed forces to global benchmarks. And Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has said that the budget will help in further strengthening India's defence capabilities.
और इस बजट में रक्षा क्षेत्र के लिए 7.85 लाख करोड़ रुपए का प्रावधान किया गया है। मैं इसके लिए भी प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी का हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। ऑपरेशन सिंदूर की ऐतिहासिक सफलता के बाद आए इस बजट ने देश की रक्षा व्यवस्था को और मजबूत बनाने के हमारे संकल्प को सुदृढ़ किया है। यह आवंटन पिछले वर्ष की तुलना में 15% से भी अधिक है, यानी इस बार भी केंद्रीय बजट का सबसे बड़ा हिस्सा रक्षा मंत्रालय को मिला है।
And the budget has also signaled a major shift in India's growth trajectory, placing science, technology and artificial intelligence at the core of national development. The budget outlines an AI-first vision aimed at boosting jobs, innovation and global competitiveness. With big pushes for semiconductors, data centers, advanced manufacturing and AI research, the government is positioning India as a global hub for deep tech and innovation. Tapas Bhattacharya has this report.
Union Budget 2026 marks a decisive shift in India's growth story, placing science, technology and artificial intelligence at the center of national development. Presented by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, the budget lays out an AI-first vision, positioning technology as a driver of jobs, productivity and global competitiveness, where machines augment human potential, not replace it. A major highlight is India's Semiconductor Mission 2.0, expanding beyond chip fabrication to cover chip-making equipment, semiconductor materials, and full-stack Indian design. The aim: build end-to-end semiconductor sovereignty and secure global supply chains. The electronics components manufacturing scheme outlay has been sharply increased to Rs 40,000 crore, boosting India's manufacturing edge. The budget also pushes India as a global data center and cloud hub, announcing a tax holiday till 2047 for foreign cloud service providers using Indian data centers, sending a strong signal to global investors. Artificial intelligence emerges as a clear growth enabler. Allocation to the India AI mission jumps dramatically to Rs 2,000 crore, enabling startups and researchers to access subsidized GPUs and build homegrown AI models. A high-powered committee will assess AI's impact on jobs, underlining the focus on upskilling and AI-augmented roles, not job losses. From AI-powered farming through Bharat Vistar to rare earth corridors, advanced manufacturing, AVGC creator labs, and new astronomy facilities, the budget lays the foundation for deep tech leadership. Union Budget 2026 positions India not just as a consumer of technology, but as a global hub for innovation, AI, and research-driven growth. Tapas Bhattacharya's report, DD India.
Diagnostic laboratories.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. The Finance Minister also raises the government's bet on infra spending, raising it by 9% compared to last year to 12.2 lakh crore Indian rupees for FY 26-27.
स्वागत आहे टू मैग्नेटिक महाराष्ट्र. One of India's newest states. One of India's oldest.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour with a special focus on the Union Budget. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, the budget has placed renewed focus on strengthening India's healthcare ecosystem. The Finance Minister unveiled Biopharma Shakti, a 10,000 crore rupees strategy aimed at strengthening India's biological ecosystem and positioning the country as a global biopharmaceutical manufacturing hub. The government has also reduced the cost of medicines for 17 types of cancer and 7 rare diseases. Take a look at this report.
In the Union Budget 2026-27, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman placed healthcare and biopharma manufacturing high on the government's priority list. To develop India as a global biopharma manufacturing hub, government has proposed Biopharma Shakti with a proposed outlay of 10,000 crore rupees over the next 5 years. It will upgrade the WHO Global Traditional Medicine Center in Jamnagar.
To develop India as a global biopharma manufacturing hub, I propose the Biopharma Shakti with an outlay of 10,000 crores over the next 5 years. This will build the ecosystem for domestic production of biologics and biosimilars. The strategy will include a biopharma-focused network with 3 new national institutes of pharmaceutical education and research, popularly known as NIPERs, and upgrading 7 existing ones. It will also create a network of 1,000 accredited India clinical trials sites.
The strategy will include a biopharma-focused network with 3 new national institutes of pharmaceutical education and research and upgrading 7 existing ones. The mission will also create a network of 1,000 accredited clinical trial sites, which are essential for testing before taking these medicines to the market. The Finance Minister announced a loan-linked capital subsidy support scheme for veterinary colleges, hospitals and diagnostic laboratories. Ayurveda and yoga also received a major push in the union budget as global interest in traditional wellness systems continues to grow. Finance Minister announced plans to train 1.5 lakh caregivers for wellness and yoga services. The government also proposed setting up 3 new All India Institutes of Ayurveda to strengthen education and research in the field. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman outlined an ambitious plan to position India as a global hub for medical value tourism. She announced the government's support for setting up 5 regional medical tourism hubs. The scheme aims to help states build large-scale integrated healthcare destinations that attract international patients while also strengthening domestic healthcare infrastructure. Apart from this, existing institutions that train allied health professionals will be upgraded, and new allied health professional institutions will be established in both the public and private sectors. Taxes on 17 cancer drugs and medicines for 7 rare diseases would be exempt, making them cheaper. Finance Minister announced a major institutional expansion aimed at addressing long-standing gaps in India's mental healthcare infrastructure. Bureau Report, DD India.
And as we've been mentioning, the Finance Minister has entered the history books, presenting her 9th consecutive union budget. Budget 26-27 has given relief in the form of TCS cuts on foreign travel and money sent abroad for education as well. Let's just look at some of those exciting proposals too.
The Union Budget 2026-27 unveiled wide-ranging reforms in direct and indirect taxes aimed at simplifying compliance, easing the burden on taxpayers and boosting growth. A major highlight is the new Income Tax Act 2025 coming into force from April 2026. Simplified tax rules and redesigned forms will make filing easier for ordinary citizens. TCS rates see a sharp cut overseas tour packages, education and medical remittances under liberalized remittance scheme will now attract just 2% TCS, which is down from up to 20%. Union Budget 2026 is proposed to exempt interest award by Motor Accidents Claims Tribunal from income tax. Manpower services will come under contractor payments for TDS capped at 1 or 2%. Small taxpayers can now get lower or nil TDS certificates through an automated process. Time to revise returns is extended till 31st March with a nominal fee. A 6-month foreign asset disclosure window is proposed for students, young professionals, NRIs and tech employees. Assessment and penalty proceedings will be merged. Pre-deposit for appeals is reduced to 10% and several offences are now decriminalized. The IT sector gets a single safe harbor regime with higher thresholds. Foreign cloud and data center companies operating from India receive tax holidays till 2047. All non-residents who pay tax on presumptive basis will be exempted from minimum alternate tax. Custom duties are rationalized across sectors like marine, leather, textiles, energy, aviation and defense to support manufacturing and exports. Personal imports duty is halved to 10%.
A lot of steps taken to enhance ease of doing business. A lot of steps taken to decriminalize the businessmen. So I think it was more of tax administration and ease of doing business. It's a fair budget, a progressive budget, and more of a forward-looking budget for me.
The liquidity of the industry will go up because now inverted duty structure will also be granted upfront 90% of the said amount. More importantly, some industries like tour operators and marketing companies who have been working for foreign companies, they will gain significantly by this finance bill because the definition of intermediary has been amended and now their services will qualify as an export.
Nation is now a step closer in ease of doing business. Faster clearances, expanded AI-based scanning, special economic zone reliefs, duty-free fish exports, and removal of courier export caps aim to power trade and logistics. The budget signals a decisive shift towards simpler taxes, faster processes, and global competitiveness. Tripti Tripaঠি's report for DD India.
Let's now talk about these tax proposals, both direct and indirect. We have two special guests in our studio. We have Ravi Agarwal, Chairperson, Central Board of Direct Taxes with us, and we also have Vivek Chaturvedi, who's Chairperson, Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs. Good evening to you both. If I could come to you, Mr. Agarwal, first and talk about, well, the elephant in the room has been the STT changes and the way the markets have reacted to it. Do you think the reaction has been a little bit too much? Perhaps a little time needs to be taken to digest the proposals because they would discourage speculation, especially in derivatives. But who would it actually hit? Will it hit the big players or the normal retail sort of traders?
So if you see the provisions that have been brought out in this budget, the cash segment, STT on cash segment has not been disturbed. So because essentially that is related to investment, so that's not disturbed. But so far as FNO segment is concerned, that is largely speculative in nature.
Derivatives, yes.
Derivatives. And the volumes involved, that is over a period of time, over past years, if you see, past 2 years, the volumes have grown exponentially. Then the retail investor, participant in this FNO segment, largely they have incurred losses. So therefore, with that perspective,
I think more than 85% have incurred losses.
Exactly. And the volume of FNO, if we see, it is more than, as the figures reflect, is about 500 times the GDP of the country. So that is the extent of the volume that is there. So the attempt is basically to address it through some sort of a tax increase in the rates, so as to effectively dissuade to some extent the retail investor from actually going in for speculation and incurring losses. So that is the primary idea behind this proposal.
Mm-hmm. And if we talk about direct taxes on income, there's no major changes there, but the new Income Tax Act comes into force from the 1st of April this year, and that itself, do you think will usher in a lot of changes, perhaps widen the tax base as well, and positively impact the government's direct tax revenues too? What is your estimate now?
Absolutely, and in fact, if you recall, a year back, when we were discussing in this same studio, and we were talking about the bill at that point in time. It was income tax bill of 2025. Essentially, at that point in time, the effort was to simplify the language and to simplify the way in which you can present the provisions.
And that simplification has gone further as well with amendments?
Yeah, so the simplification, ultimately the Parliament actually approved that bill, and now it is an act of 2025, which is going to be rolled out with effect from 1st of April 26. So the present proposals in the budget is a step 2 in that direction. So for step 1 was simplification of language and the way we present it. And the step 2 is simplification of the processes, consolidation of the processes, and making some changes so as to make it easy for the taxpayer for compliance purposes, prompt better compliance. You see, the taken together simplified language as well as the changed procedures and provisions going forward would make it easy for the taxpayer on one hand, and also for the tax administration. So there are a series of changes that have been made, a bouquet of changes I would say, which includes decriminalization provisions that have been brought out, very comprehensive decriminalization that has been done. Then the provisions of updating the returns.
So there's fine, but there's no prison term or
yeah,
something like that.
Earlier the defaults would involve rigorous imprisonment for as high as about 7 years. Now it has become graded, and at that point in time, I mean in the old act it was minimum imprisonment and then the maximum. Now what has been minimum imprisonment has been done away with, and so if a prosecution happens, then maybe the punishment could be only fine rather than imprisonment. So that keeping in view the philosophy of Jan Vishwas, the alignment has been done. Then through updated returns at every stage of the proceedings, the taxpayer is now being given a chance to update the returns and come out clean, including after issuance of notice as well as after passing of the assessment orders. So this is yet another change that has been done in this act, which is a major procedural change. The third major procedural change is combination of assessments and penalties. So earlier it was a sequential sort of a process. First assessment would happen, then it would pass through the process of appeals. After the process is over, then the penalty proceedings would be, you see, initiated, and then it will again go through the same process.
A long time.
So it would take a long time. It was a pain for the taxpayer. But now what is being proposed is that the two things, assessment as well as penalty, would go together.
Hand in hand.
So therefore, you see, it saves time, it minimizes litigation. So for the tax administration.
So what sort of an impact would all this have on the bottom line in terms of increasing the tax base and increasing overall revenue
ultimately,
through direct taxes?
the philosophy should be that if it is, you make it easy for the taxpayer to comply, the taxpayer is comfortable with the compliance process as such, and the provisions are simpler and easy to understand. Naturally, the tax base also increases because more people come into that fold. No, that I mean the projections, I would not be able to give those projections.
Okay.
But then, as a natural, you see, I would say the result, it would actually result naturally in improving the tax base and improving compliance.
Okay. Mr. Chaturvedi, pardon me for taking a little time with Mr. Agarwal, but thoda zaruri ho jata hai. But if you come to indirect taxes, a lot of changes have been made in this budget as well. Very targeted and critical in sectors which need a helping hand or need encouragement as well. To be able to be more competitive within the Indian market and even outside. Right. Tell us about that.
So, if you look at the budget proposals, particularly on the rate side, because there are two parts to it. One, of course, is the procedure part also. I'll come to it subsequently. Now, if you look at the rate side proposal, which is largely customs duty exemptions, it's been a very carefully nuanced and calibrated approach, and it's very sector specific, as you rightly said. It's also looking at where the industry needs protection, where raw materials are required on a concessional rate or a duty-free rate to boost production, make the industry more resilient, to look at issues like our energy security. For example, we've done away with the capital goods for manufacture of lithium-ion cells for energy storage systems. We've done a duty exemption on monazite that is used to manufacture magnets.
I'm not sure if I heard the FM, but she did not mention, she normally does mention these things as to how much revenue will be foregone because of these changes.
I would say more importantly than the revenue foregone is how critical the concession would be in relation to a sector and what it in turn promotes. Now, for example, a concession has been given to the seafood processing industry. So, it was linked to the FOB value of exports. So, 1% of your export you were allowed duty free imports, which has been now jacked up to 3% of the total thing. This is a pure export boost initiative. So, the efficacy of the revenue measures would also need to be looked in the context of how critical that sector is. For example, we have done away with or provided a concessional duty for setting up nuclear power projects. Now, you do not look at it from the revenue foregone perspective on that, you look at it more from the country's energy security perspective. Or for example, if I have done away with a duty on shoe uppers, it is largely for the export effort. So, it has been a very calibrated, very nuanced approach, sector by sector, promoting MSMEs, promoting growth, looking at protection. The basket if I would say so. And this is as far as the rates are concerned. The second part, of course, is the process reforms that we brought in, which again is a very big measure, because most of the process reforms are designed to facilitate the element of trust between the government and the industry. So, we have, for example, brought up an extension of the duty deferral for AEOs, so that you can pay duty only once for all your imports, once a month. We are rolling out the same scheme for a class other than AEOs, which are similar, like manufacturer importers. That is a proposal. If you look at the changes we made in the courier export regulations, where we have done away with the limit of 10 lakhs for promotion. This is going to help our MSME sector, our niche people who had a problem that the value limit was much more than 10 lakhs, they could not use the courier part. The industry problems of what to do with returns and rejects in the courier mode. We have now made it very simple, so that they do not have to get the packages open and pay a duty. It can be re-exported based the establishment of the identity between the goods exported and the goods re-imported. So, a slew of measures designed to look at specific sector-wise pain points have also been undertaken. I am sure overall conspectus of the reforms is more both on the rate part as well as also on the process part.
The other point is that India, especially in this phase when Donald Trump came to power and came up with his tariffs, a slew of tariffs for different countries. The US market is closing up. We need to make our own industry more diversified in terms of exports, and to give everyone really who is into exports a helping hand, and at the same time make them more globally competitive as well, because at the same time India has been doing other FTAs which will lead to later on foreign goods coming in more easily to our market as well. So how has this issue been addressed through the issue in indirect taxes?
Well, as far as this particular issue is concerned, as far as the FTAs are concerned, we have been extremely mindful of the fact that the domestic industry has on sectors we need to give it more padding and more protection. I think that has been taken care of during the negotiations. CBIC, of course, is a part of the negotiations. More importantly, the measures that we have undertaken, particularly on the concessions that have been given to the industry, are largely designed to increase the export competitiveness of the industry in these difficult times. For example,
the aviation industry, if they need
the
parts
aviation industry, the fisheries, in fact, that's a very important sector. For example, we've extended the definition of India in the territorial waters in the Customs Act. So, Indian fishermen can harvest the fish even on high seas in the exclusive economic zone, and from there they can export it. And if they bring it back to India, to the mainland, it's not treated as an import. So, competitiveness for the industry, specific sectors, a specific example, leather industry, for example, we've done away with the duty on shoe uppers, because that's one of the major components of leather exports. So, we have taken those very calibrated measures to give the concession, so that the sector benefits and becomes more competitive.
And this custom duty halving on any imported item of personal use.
Yes.
What is that about, and how will it be determined what is personal and what is not?
No, there's a definition of personal imports in the Customs Act. We have rationalized the duty to 10% for all the personal imports, and this is largely to promote the ease of living for individuals. As are certain other measures.
This will apply to everything, anything for personal use, could be jewelry, could be electronics.
Yes, so we have made the changes in our baggage rules also. In fact, that's another big ticket item that we have introduced, if you look at that. Now, the baggage rules, for example, were not revised since 2016. So, it's been a 10-year period, we have revised it. We've increased the general free allowance from 50,000 to 75,000 for tourists. For foreign tourists, it's gone from 15 to 25,000. Earlier, the jewelry was excluded from the definition of personal effects. We brought a definition of personal effects which is more inclusive. We've done away with the value limits on the jewelry that could come or be brought into the country by a lady passenger or a gent passenger. For example, if you are aware, there was a value cap along with a weight cap. So, we've done away with the value cap. Now, it's a flat weight cap of 20 grams and 40 grams which can be brought in. We've eased the transfer of residence rules. We've eased rules relating to temporary import of professional equipments which I don't have to clear into India on payment of duty or suffer a detention, a simple certificate, and when I'm taking it back, that certificate suffices for that purpose. So, all these measures are largely designed for ease of doing business, for ease of living, and also for doing away with a lot of I would say
inconvenience, I guess.
Inconvenience that was caused at the airports.
And Mr. Alcaraz, if you could tell us about how these direct tax proposals will lead to reduction in litigation. You mentioned how the punitive element has been reduced from no prison to limited time to mostly fines. But what about the other provisions, other issues where litigation does arise under the present circumstances?
Yeah, so in the change provisions, what we have proposed is that once a notice is issued for assessment, even at that stage, post issuance of the notice, where prima facie issue has been crystallized, the taxpayer has been actually notified about the discrepancies in his case. Thereafter, if the person wants to come forward and disclose with some additional tax, the person can actually go forward and do it. Till now, that provision, that facility was not there. So with that window, maybe people would come forward and they would disclose and close the litigation. That is one. The second is, even after the person has gone through the assessment process and an order has been passed, after that, if the person wants to actually settle the case, in the sense that doesn't want to further pursue it, and so there, at that point in time also a window is there. The person can pay some additional tax and then close the case. So that way the multiple opportunities are given to the taxpayer to actually ensure that he doesn't take forward the litigation. So that is one. And the second is, as I mentioned, clubbing the assessment with penalty. That also would help in minimizing the litigation. The third is that with the simplified language, since there would be more clarity, therefore the compliance would also increase. So that would also help in reducing the litigation.
So this is for individuals, and what about corporates?
This is for all.
All. Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. And in terms of the kind of things that have been done with TCS, what has been in the mind of the government in proposing such a change, again slashing tax rates to a huge extent, and even giving tax holidays to the companies who can come in the cloud business or set up data centers?
Yeah. So these are two separate components. Insofar as TCS on remittances, when we talk about that, for example, remittances for the purposes of education or
package tours,
education or medicine, that is one for medical purposes. So that has been reduced, and for others also that threshold also has been taken care of. So essentially the idea is that TCS in such cases is more for tracking purposes, tracking the transactions.
Okay.
And once you reduce the rate of the TDS, it's more liquidity in the hands of the person concerned. So if there is an education element involved or a medical element involved, then it is required that the person has more liquidity with him because of the purpose for which the remittance is being made. And simultaneously with the TCS, you can track the remittance and also ensure that the compliance is there. For overseas travel, there was a request from the Indian travel agents also, but that because of the online facilities, there was some sort of a arbitrage, in the sense that since the TCS was being levied on the Indian overseas tour operators, and it was not for the outside ones, so therefore that was a arbitrage. So that has also been minimized. And so far as the cloud service providers are concerned, or data centers, cloud service providers, toll manufacturers, contract manufacturers, there the emphasis was that we need to promote this industry, because how do you actually encourage data centers coming up in the country? And this is one way in which we have brought tax certainty, and tax certainty for till to 2047. So there's a huge period for which this tax certainty has been provided, because the concern was that if they provide the services, then the permanent establishment, the concept of permanent establishment would trigger in, and the global income of those entities may also be subject to tax. So that clarity has been provided, that the global income would not be subject to tax, and it's only the the service providers, the Indian data centers in India, who are Indian residents or basically who either provide service to the non-resident or to the related parties, they would be taxed only for the India income, and so far as the cloud services income is concerned, that would not be taxed.
Okay.
So that is one. The second is toll manufacturer, so where the person provides capital equipment for the purposes of manufacturing. There also some sort of a safe harbor is provided and tax certainty is there. Third component is about warehousing. So just in time provision of equipments or components for the purpose of manufacturing certain electronic devices. So there also it was being done on offshore. The title was being passed, and people were finding it difficult to actually navigate and to optimize the efficiencies. So to bring in more efficiency, this provision has been brought. Okay. So with these three provisions, we feel that it will give a substantial boost to the industry. Apart from that, substantial relaxation has also been given in the context of ITES services, wherein safe harbor provisions have been expanded. So from a turnover of 300 crores to 2,000 crores. So the huge expansion has been done and certainty has been provided. And we feel that with this, the industry in this vertical would actually get a good boost.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Chaturvedi, you mentioned how the sector, the nuclear energy sector, is getting a lot of break in terms of indirect taxes to promote diversification of India's energy sources and make it more sustainable as well. But the component of sustainable future for us is also a huge component is the auto industry. There was a provision related to batteries in the tax in the proposal, the budget proposals. But is there more there as far as India's sustainability goals are concerned in terms of auto, not just the auto industry, but other allied areas as well?
Most of the proposals, of course, are now on the table. So, and we did have a lot of consideration to all the proposals that did come during the pre-budget and the budget process. Auto industry specifically, of course, we haven't really tinkered with anything right now. But there are other sectors as well which have been the focus of this budget. The marine sector, the textile, the leather, nuclear energy, of course, I mentioned. And
because in previous budgets there have been concessions for solar parks and setting up.
Yeah, so for example, we have something for the solar power. Sodium antimonide has been given a customs duty exemption. That is a component that is one in terms of value, it's about 26% of the solar glass component which goes into the manufacture of solar panels for energy. So as I said earlier, it's a very balanced, very calibrated approach. It's not a whole hog, but it's sufficiently adequate to look at the current needs of the industry, both in terms of protection as well as resilience.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Agarwal, as well, Mr. Chaturvedi, to talk about the whole gamut of taxes that each taxpayer, not only taxpayer, the entire country is concerned about, because it does cater to a lot of not just interest, but also core issues as far as managing not just households or businesses is concerned, but even the government's revenues. Now, let's move on and talk about how infrastructure has also taken center stage in the budget, with the government doubling down on public investment to drive growth. The FM has proposed a sharp increase in capital expenditure, reinforcing the push for infrastructure-led development, green mobility and regional economic expansion.
Infrastructure remained king in the union budget as the finance minister raised the government's bet on public spending. Capital expenditure has been proposed at 12.2 lakh crore rupees for the financial year 2026 and 27, which is up from 11.2 lakh crore rupees in the current fiscal, underscoring the continued focus on growth through infrastructure.
Public capital expenditure has increased manifold from 2 lakh crore in 2014-15 to an allocation of 11.2 lakh crore in BE 25-26. In this coming year, that is financial year 2026-27, I propose to increase it to 12.2 lakh crores to continue the momentum.
To promote environmentally sustainable movement of cargo, the budget proposes new dedicated freight corridors connecting Dankuni in the east to Surat in the west. It also plans to operationalize 20 new national waterways over the next 5 years.
Operationalize 20 new national waterways over the next 5 years. Starting with National Waterways 5 in Orissa to connect mineral-rich areas of Talcher and Angul and industrial centers like Kalinga Nagar to the ports of Paradeep and Dhamra.
Tier 2, Tier 3 cities have been identified as new growth engines. City economic regions will be mapped by growth drivers. 5,000 crore rupees per CER over 5 years has been proposed. Infrastructure Risk Guarantee Fund will boost private investments. REITs and CPSE assets will accelerate asset monetization. Indigenous seaplane manufacturing will get incentives. Seaplane VGF scheme will support connectivity and tourism. 20,000 crore rupees outlay has been put for CCUS over the next 5 years. For sustainable passenger mobility, the finance minister also announced plans to develop high 7-speed rail corridors between cities, positioning them as new growth connectors.
In order to promote environmentally sustainable passenger systems, we will develop 7 high-speed rail corridors between cities as growth connectors, namely Mumbai to Pune, Pune to Hyderabad, Hyderabad to Bengaluru, Hyderabad to Chennai, Chennai to Bengaluru, Delhi to Varanasi, Varanasi to Siliguri.
With higher capital spending, a green transport push, and a sharper focus on cities beyond the metros, Budget 2026 signals continuity in infrastructure-led growth aimed at boosting competitiveness, sustainability, and long-term economic momentum. Bureau Report, DD India.
And moving away slightly from the budget, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh attended the Golden Jubilee celebrations of the Indian Coast Guard in New Delhi. Speaking at the event, the Defence Minister lauded the humanitarian record of the organisation. He also highlighted the prompt response and operational readiness of Indian Coast Guard in case of maritime accidents and natural disasters.
इंडियन कोस्ट गार्ड का ह्यूमैनिटेरियन रिकॉर्ड वास्तव में बेहद सराहनीय है। अपनी स्थापना से लेकर अब तक समुद्र में 11,800 से ज़्यादा लोगों की आपने ज़िंदगी बचाई है। आपके करेज, स्किल और सेंस ऑफ ड्यूटी का यह सीधा अपने में एक प्रमाण है। चाहे साइक्लोन हो, चाहे समुद्री दुर्घटनाएं हों या ऑपरेशन सागर बंधु जैसे रीजनल ह्यूमैनिटेरियन मिशन, आपने हर बार प्रॉम्प्ट रिस्पांस, कंपैशन और प्रोफेशनल अप्रोच का परिचय दिया है।
Now let's get to some sports news as well. World number 1 Carlos Alcaraz swept past Novak Djokovic to win his first Australian Open and become the youngest male at the age of 22 to complete a career Grand Slam. His win denied the Serbian great an unprecedented 25th major title. The Spaniard was imperious after a slow start in dismissing the 38-year-old 2-6, 6-2, 6-3 and 7-5 in Melbourne to claim a 7th Grand Slam title and cement himself as undisputed world number 1. Alcaraz surpassed legendary Rafael Nadal, who was at Rod Laver Arena to witness the game. Nadal was 24 when he completed the career Grand Slam. Alcaraz added to his 2 titles each from Wimbledon, the French Open and the US Open. And that's all we have for this edition of DD India News Hour and a special edition on the budget, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. Just scan the QR code on the screen to download the app right away. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, Thanks for watching DD India News Hour Special.